Welcome back to video number 3. Once again, lots of information. Let's cut the stuff and let's just jump in and cover it, shall we? Let's go. Let's just jump right in with this. We know that Harry has been in a very long, drawn-out legal battle over his request to have access to taxpayer-funded personal protective security. This legal battle with the UK started more than 4 years ago when he claimed that he and his family were endangered only when visiting the UK because of hostility towards him and Meghan. We know that not that long ago, he gave an interview and talked about he was worried about a knife crime or an acid attack. This from a man who now lives in the United States where everybody has a gun and where he recently went to Colombia where the crime level is so high and the UK and US have put out warnings telling people not to go there. This past April, a high court judge rejected his request to appeal an earlier ruling which upholds a government panel's decision to limit his access to publicly funded security. Now, this trip to Colombia that he just did put the nail in the coffin of any hopes Harry may have had to convince the king to change his mind. I said that how many times for those of you who watch my videos? I said that him going on this trip totally was going to kill his security case because it's not just the security issue that's putting Harry at odds with his father and William. It's no different than when they went to Nigeria. They had to have tanks and machine guns. They don't need all that. If people in the UK are upset with Meghan, maybe they should do something to change the people's mind. But here's the next thing that happened that I still think put a nail in the coffin of his case. We know that their uncle, Robert Fellows, passed away, and there was a funeral. And I told you guys before that I didn't think Harry was going to go, but guess what? It's being reported that he showed up to the funeral. So what does that tell you? Harry was able to fly in to the UK without anybody knowing, show up at this funeral. Just as an FYI, this is the first time Harry and William were in the same room together since in like over 2 years. Apparently, they did not speak and they sat on opposite sides of the room. Harry flew in from Los Angeles International Airport. So he was able to fly into the country, get to this funeral, get back to the airport, and get home. And nobody saw him. So for me, that tells me that his security case is in the toilet. Because what is he going to say? Well, it's okay for me to dash in and out. But no, I can't dash Meghan and the children in to see my father. You know, I told you guys before, he's holding the kids hostage for the king. And he wants the king to intervene in his court case, which of course the king can't do. But they're saying that Harry and William both showed up very discreetly. You wouldn't have known they were there. They have not spoken. But if anything, like I said, I think this quick dash just killed the rest of Harry's case. How can he possibly defend that to a judge? Now, after the funeral, apparently there was a reception, and the vicar who held the funeral reception, of course, has spoken out and said that the two brothers did not speak. The Reverend Tansey told The Sun directly, and I'm quoting, "It was only as I was greeting the congregation on the way out that Prince William was shaking my hand, and then, very quickly after, Prince Harry did too. It was a surprise, but a really, really pleasant surprise that they had both come." But he did comment on the lack of interaction between the two brothers. He said, "I do not recollect them speaking to each other, but there were a lot of family members and friends there that were speaking to them." Now, as far as Harry's security case goes and this whole thing that he's got going, I am going to be very interested and keep an eye on the court case. I just cannot imagine what he's going to say to his father the next time his father says, "Why don't you bring the kids?" Because he just proved that he was able to get in and get out without anybody seeing him. I'm sure he probably flew in on a private jet as well. Wouldn't surprise me. Now, it was suggested on Twitter that probably the man's wife, Jane, laid down the law to Harry for the funeral. And it was also pointed out that as long as Meghan didn't leak and plant things to the news, everything stayed private the way it should have. No, I wish I'd gotten a screenshot of it, but somebody came on my Twitter account and said, well, that's the way you do it. You do it quietly. It's called respect. And I'm thinking, that's right. It could be done quietly. You just proved my point. It can be done. But this is why the Home Office isn't buying his scam. Absolutely not buying his scam about I need security. Now, please remember that Harry was already told that he was not improperly stripped of his public funded security during his visits to Britain because he gave up his status as a working member of the royal family and he moved to the United States. And let's not forget that during the Sandringham meeting, he was told that was going to happen. But I think he honestly thought that they weren't going to do it. And we also know that Harry failed to persuade a different judge last year that he should be able to privately pay for London's police force to guard him when he comes to town. A judge denied that offer after a government lawyer argued that officers shouldn't be used as bodyguards for the wealthy. Let's also not forget that Harry recently withdrew a libel case against the Daily Mail because they published an article that said that Harry tried to hide his efforts to continue receiving government-funded security. So Harry dropped the case because the judge ruled that more than likely he was going to lose at trial because the publisher could show that the statements issued on his behalf were misleading and the February 2022 article reflected an honest opinion and wasn't libel. I do have one issue with this story. It seems to me that if Harry was seen at LAX, which somebody claims that they were, and if Harry was at this funeral as he was going in or out, somebody would have gotten a picture. Somebody somewhere would have had a photo. And there's no picture of Harry that was taken in the UK or that was taken in the airport of him coming or going. Of course, again, he wouldn't be on a flight because he probably took a private jet. But still, I'm waiting for a photo. Now, another piece of information came up that made me go, Apparently, Harry was not close to Mr. Fellows. He was one of the main gray suits that Harry supposedly hated. So I think that, and I agree with this Twitter user, when he heard William was attending the funeral, he decided to make a last-minute dash. I said it before, I'll say it again. I feel like Harry's trying to force a meeting. He's trying to force William to talk with him and deal with him, and it's not working out for Harry. So Harry's continued whining about security. We've already heard, of course, that Harry was embarrassed after his tour to Colombia with Meghan, but that's not going to stop him from jetting off to New York. And why not? New York has agreed to give him the extra security that he wants. Now remember, the last time Harry was in New York, they had a 7-car convoy that drove them 0.6 miles. So while Harry is flying into New York for Climate Week, don't forget he'll probably go on a private jet. There'll be another large convoy. There'll be plenty of security, and Harry will make a fool of himself once again. All right, you guys know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button. Hit the bell for all notifications. Go down into the description box where you'll find a link to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, my Patreon, which is currently paused, my physical address, my Amazon wish list. And for those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.